All right, guys, Ava Landon here, and let me adjust that camera just a little. All right, so at this point, we have these two panels right here, and I have gone ahead and I've sewn one of these to the center panel, so it's actually quite long. Now, I have to admit something. When I measured my second panel, sorry, let's move that. I actually made this about 1.5 inches too short. So I'm not sure if this has happened to you or not. So I'm going to show you how to kind of make up the mistake for these. If you do cut these a little short, that's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to take this main panel and you're going to kind of center it. So I'm going to lay this out flat on the table. The other thing that you want to just be aware of, see if I can get more of it in there. The other thing you want to be aware of is that when you pin these, make sure that your seams are going in the right place, like that they're facing the right way, because I've actually gone through and sewed these in 2 different directions, and with it being 58 inches long, that's a really, that's a whole lot of thread that you have to pick out. So just double check to make sure that your seams are gonna go in the same direction. So for me, this is definitely a yes. And there's a lot of fabric here. Usually I would just lay this out on the floor and try to do it, but the camera and the angle is a little off, so I'm gonna do it on the table. So yeah, so what we want to do is just kind of shake it down, and you just want to really center it. Since I know it's about 1/2 inch too short, all I'm gonna do is just make it like 1/4 inch on each side. Now we do have some wiggle room because this whole backing is about 3 inches long, 3 inches longer than the quilt on all sides. So if you center it, I mean, you'll be okay. When we go to sew though, since I did cut this side short, this is the side I'm gonna start with. Sorry, you can't even see that. So there it is. It's about 1 inch or so. Since I did do it short, what I'm gonna do is sort of compensate and start quilting on the short side. That way, if it wiggles, I can have more control over it wiggling, and I'll know exactly where it's starting at and where it's ending. But like I said, we do have 3 inches. This particular side's only gonna have about 2. But that's okay. I mean, part of making a quilt is compensating for mistakes. And then when we go through and we trim it, nobody's even going to know that, oh, except if they saw the video, that I sewed it a little short. All right, so what we're going to do is, now that it's all laid out, we're going to just sort of make sure the whole thing's even. And this fabric gets heavy, so if you're working on a table, just pull up the fabric on top of the table. That way it's not pulling and it's not really weighty. And you won't be fighting the fabric at that point. You're just gonna sort of even it out. And I had my pins. I believe they're under the fabric. I had pins. Pins fell. All right, there we go. Alright, so what we're going to do is, normally you would even it up, but like I said, mine's a little short. You're going to take this little pin, going to sew it right in there. Now, the thing is, like when you make these panels and you go to sew, a lot of times I will still sew mine at 1/4 inch, just because I'm a little cheap when it comes to fabric, and I don't like to waste any. If you're a beginner, there is enough fabric here if you wanted to actually sew the 1/2 inch seam. I believe if you do it by the quilting books, it's like a 1/2 inch seam. But I mean, rules are meant to inspire. They're just best practices and guidelines. But I don't do it. I've never had a problem with my quilts. But it's entirely up to you. So yeah, we're gonna pin these. I generally pin, when something's this long, about the width of my hand. So that's a little bigger, but you'll see that it's kind of a good size, a really good estimate. And what we're going to do is pin these all the way down. I'm not going to walk you through that, but we're going to pin this all the way down, and then we're going to go through and sew. Like I said, you can sew at a quarter of an inch, which is how I sew it, or you can sew it at a half inch. When we get finished with this, what we're going to do is we're going to lay this out, and we're actually going to press it because we have this really massive fold right here, just from when it comes off the bolt. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just press the whole thing. As far as your seams, I'm going to leave it up to you. I generally press my seams open because I like the way it lays flat. But if you want, you can just press them to one side. I know when you're pressing something that's this long, sometimes it's awkward to press them open. But it's entirely up to you. You can just press them to one side if you like. And then that's pretty much it. So I'm going to sew this. And then at that point, we're going to make the quilt sandwich, and then we're going to baste. So I will see you soon. Bye.